Welcome to the Home Team Sacramento podcast. I'm Josh Takimoto, and today I'm talking about enjoying the moment, living in the moment, really truly appreciating the moments that we have in life. So many times we get wrapped up in the craziness, the busyness, the chaos of everyday life. We have stresses, we have work, we have school, we have homework, we have tests coming up. We have all of these things that come at us, and they come at us fast, right? And then on top of that, we constantly have our faces in our phones and our computers and our iPads, watching TV, just trying to catch up with everything that's going on in life. And because of all those things that are constantly swirling around us, I feel like there's so many times when we don't just sit there, step back, and really appreciate the moment that we're living in. And it's something we've talked about a lot on this podcast, and I've read this in books, and I've had conversations with people about on this podcast about this, that when you have an athlete that can really live and be present in the moment, that's when they're at their best, right? Because if you focus too much on past failures or even past successes, then it distracts you from what you're currently doing, and you can get lost in that with either negative thoughts or maybe positive thoughts because of past successes, which really have nothing to do with what you're doing in the moment and your performance in the moment. But we get so lost and wrapped up in that we don't excuse me, we don't truly we aren't truly present for the task at hand. And then if we look too far ahead, well, that's where we get in trouble too, right? We see it all the time in sports at every level. You're playing against an opponent and you think, oh, we got this easy. Not a problem. We're gonna win this game. And so you look beyond that opponent because you think it's a wrap. And then before you know it, at the end of the game, you're looking up at the scoreboard and you're on the brink of losing to a team that you have no business losing to, all because you were so focused on the future that you didn't respect your opponent in the moment. You didn't appreciate the moment and live in the moment. And now all of a sudden you lost a game that you shouldn't have lost. So it's a really important thing, one, for the performance of an athlete and even a coach, and I'm sure for coaches, you see it all the time, right? Coaches, especially at the college and professional level, they're judged on the decisions they make, the in-game decisions that they make, why they start this person over that person, why they make this call instead of that call. And then they're crucified for it when things don't go their way, or they're celebrated for it when things do go their way. But all of those things happen because they're making decisions in the moment. And again, once again, just like an athlete, if you're looking in the past at past failures, or if you're looking ahead because you think you've got it wrapped up, or you're just so focused on what's next that you don't appreciate the moment, then that's when mistakes are made. That's when bad decisions are made. That's not when you're not at your best version of yourself in that moment, because you're not even focused on the moment. You're focused either behind you or in front of you. And so just from a performance standpoint, I think being present in the moment is incredibly, incredibly important. But then even if you step further back, and let's not focus so much on performance, but let's just step back and look at this as a very general idea or lesson about life. For me, once I became a parent, all of these ideas and these cliches of, oh, time flies by, appreciate the moment, don't let these moments slip by because they'll be gone before you know it. All these different things that you hear, you appreciate people's opinions and you appreciate their perspectives, but it doesn't really, at least for me, speaking for myself, it didn't really truly hit me until I had kids. And then as you see them go from this moment where you're holding them in your arms, and then now they're making decisions on their own. They're talking, they're, doing all these fun things, which is awesome to watch. But then you look back and you look at those few years that have gone by, even from infant to toddler, and you realize, man, those people weren't lying. Those people were completely telling the truth when they said, man, the time will fly by. Do not waste a moment, because every single moment is precious and every single moment counts. And so I feel like even now, at 34 years old and having a couple of kids, young kids, it really has made me change my perspective on time and appreciating my time and not taking moments for granted, and not, getting so lost in the things that I want to do in the future that I don't appreciate the present, or, beat myself up over past failures, because that's not going to help me be the best version of myself in the moment either. And so it's been something that I've really started to really think about. It's been at the forefront of my mind, again, ever since I had kids. But I think it's something that, even looking back, excuse me, even looking back, there's so many times where, even though and I've said this on this podcast before, I didn't play much in high school. I played a pretty decent amount my freshman and sophomore year, junior and senior year. I didn't play that much, and I remember back in the day being frustrated. It's like you didn't want to do certain drills, you didn't want to show up to practice, you didn't want to do all these things. I did, but internally in my mind, I'm like, man, I don't want to do any of this. This sucks. I want to play, but I feel like I'm going through all this work to never have an opportunity to play or have very few opportunities to play. And so, I remember in the moment as a high schooler thinking all these things and being frustrated and having these negative thoughts in my mind. But when I got older, even now, man, there's so many times where I look back and think, man, when I think back to when I was playing baseball as a high schooler, even someone who was not playing that much, even being someone that wasn't playing very much at all, I can think back to the moments where I'm playing long toss before practice. I'm doing PFP drills. I'm in the outfield shagging fly balls. I'm at the bucket boy, just catching balls and putting them in the bucket, running poles on a warm day where the sun's out. You have music playing. You can hear the conversations, the laughter of teammates talking and joking. All of these different memories that flood my mind of back in the day when I was playing baseball in high school. They hit me now, and I think, man, if I could go back even one day and just relive and re-experience that again, I would do it 100%. Even being someone that didn't play that much. And so looking back, it's like, man, there's times where I'm like, man, I wish I would have appreciated the moment even more, because you only get that moment one time. We only get that very specific moment one time. You might have a 20 game season. You play the first game of the season. Once that game's over, it's over. You will never play that moment at that time against that opponent with those teammates ever again. You might have games that are similar. You might have other games that you play throughout the season. You might play that opponent again, but that very specific game, you'll never get that game back. It's gone. Once it's done, it's done. That moment will never, ever happen again. You can even try to replicate it to the best of your ability, but it will never be the exact same moment. And so we have to look at those 20 games or however many games your season is. We've got to look at those games and think, man, I need to give my very best each and every game. I need to appreciate and really live and soak up this moment, because I'll never get it back. I'll never get that time with my teammates back again. That camaraderie, that bond that we get to build, I'll never get that again. Coaches, you'll never have that group of athletes again. At most, you get those athletes for 4 years. If you have a freshman that's starting and plays all 4 years of varsity, like that's the most you'll get an athlete for. What are you doing in those 4 years? Or for a lot of athletes, those 1 or 2 years that you coach them, what are we doing with those times, those moments? Because you'll never get those moments again. You'll never have that opportunity to influence that specific group of players again. Are you looking at it as an opportunity that you have to take and seize in that moment because you only get one shot? Or are we too passive and we just think, oh, it's just another game. It's another group of athletes. I'll coach some more. I'll coach more years, more seasons throughout my life. Like, I don't think we can look at it like that. I think we have to look at it as, hey, I have one shot to impact these athletes in this moment. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to take it seriously? Am I going to take hold of that moment? Or am I going to let it slip by? Am I going to treat it as just a very nonchalant thing that's not that big of a deal? I'm just here to coach a sport. Man, if that's you, I feel like you're missing an opportunity. If it's you, I question why you're coaching in the first place, because it's got to be more than just wins and losses. We have to seize the moment that we've been given and really try to instill our life lessons, our work ethic, our discipline, everything that sports brings to the table. We've got to impart those onto our athletes so that they can walk away better people, better human beings. Excuse me, get some water real quick. I was one of the excuse me, man. Excuse me. one of those one of the things that really caught my attention last year. I'm a huge baseball fan, and uh, you know, anybody who's listened to this podcast knows that I'm a huge baseball fan. And last May, I remember a video started circulating and kind of making its way through social media of a catcher named Adley Rushman. He's the catcher for the Baltimore Orioles. Last year was his rookie season, and in May he got called up to the majors. And I remember seeing this video of Adley walking from the dugout, walking towards home plate. He shakes the umpire's hand, and then he stops behind home plate and he does a full circle. He's watching and looking around him at the entire stadium and just soaking up that moment, because he understood that this is going to be the one and only time that he was going to make his major league debut. It was the moment where the dream that he's had since a child was coming true. He only gets to experience that one time. He only gets to experience his debut, the first time stepping onto Camden Yards, for one time only. He only gets to do that one time. And so the fact that he had the presence of mind to stop and look and soak up that moment was amazing to me. I love that. Like, it gave me goosebumps when I watched that, because I'm like, that's what it's all about. You might have some athletes that would play it off cool. It's like, it's not a big deal. I knew I was going to make it here. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to have more games. But why? You can't be too cool for that moment. You made it. Your dream is coming true. Why would you not just stop and appreciate that moment like he did? It was an incredible moment, and one that still gives me goosebumps to this day. I love it. I'll watch that video sometimes and think, man, that's what it's about. I wish more athletes would watch this and really take away the lesson that's being taught here, is appreciate the moment. It doesn't matter how big you make it. It doesn't matter how successful you are. You've got to appreciate that moment. You gotta soak it up, live it up, and really understand that you only get that moment one time. Don't be too cool for school. Just go out there and enjoy it. And so, like I said, I wanted to keep this episode short today, but that was just something that was on my mind and my heart. Just appreciating the moment. And anytime I see an athlete or a coach that truly understands that and they appreciate and live in the moment, man, I think that's an amazing thing. And I think more of us need to do that, not just on the field, but off the field as well. And, like I said, this is something I've talked about before. I think when you look at the past, the present, and the future, all three of those areas of life have a place for us as we're navigating this world, as we're navigating this life and the things that we're doing, whether it's sports or not sports. The past, the present, and the future always have a place in our lives. You've got to be able to look back at the past and learn from it, especially past mistakes. If you make mistakes in the past and you don't learn from it, like if you don't look back at the past and see the mistakes and learn from those mistakes, then those mistakes are basically worthless. They were just mistakes. But if you learn from them, now all of a sudden they become a useful tool that helps you propel yourself into the future. Now, when you look at the future, those are your dreams, your goals, your aspirations. Those are the things you're striving for. Those are the things that motivate you. It's your why, right? This is the thing that you're trying to obtain. This is the goal or the place you're trying to get to. That's the dream. That's what you're working so hard to do. That's the carrot that's dangling in front of you. So we can't look too far ahead, because we got to make sure we're living in the moment, but you got to also appreciate and understand, hey, I'm working towards a specific goal. This is the thing that's giving the motivation, the drive to keep going, because I'm looking at that thing and I will not stop until I get there. That's the future. And then you have the present. And the present is where we're living at currently in this moment right now. Don't get so focused on the past that you lose sight of the present. Don't get so focused on the future that you lose sight of the present. The present is what you're living in, breathing in right now. What are you doing with that moment? Are you making choices that show that you learned from the past? Are you making choices that show that you really, truly have a desire to reach your dreams and your goals? Whatever you do in the moment is affecting what you do in the future, or what opportunities you have in the future. What you do in the moment is a reflection of whether or not you learned from the past. And so I would encourage all of us to just enjoy the moment, live in the moment, appreciate the moment, and never take it for granted. And I get it's difficult. Like I said at the very beginning of this whole thing, there's the craziness, the busyness of life, distractions all over the place. And so it's probably impossible to appreciate every single moment. But I think if it's at the forefront of your mind, I think if you have this mentality that you're going to try your very best every single day to appreciate the moment, even when things are difficult, trying to find that silver lining in the moment. I believe that you'll look back at the end of your life and think, man, I made the most of the time I was given. I did the very best with the time I was given. Because you think about it, all of us are given the same 24 hours. You hear that all the time. For some people, even though we're given the same 24 hours, it sometimes looks like, man, I feel like that person's time moves slower, or that person's time seems to move really quick. And I know for us, it seems like sometimes time just flies by. But really, what it comes down to is it's a matter of how you use that time. Are you making the most of every single moment? Are you spending a lot of time being negative and thinking about all the past mistakes you made on and off the field and how that's affecting you? Are you so focused on the future that you miss opportunities to make connections here in the present? You see, I think it's the person who appreciates their time the most, who understands that time is the same for everybody. It doesn't speed up or slow down for anybody. It's the same exact time for everybody. The people who understand that and appreciate that, those are the people who are, like I said, are going to look back at the end of their life and really say, man, I think I did this thing to the best of my ability. And I'm proud of what I've accomplished. I'm proud of the connections I made. I'm proud of the lives that I've changed. I feel good about this. And I think that's what it's all about. I think at the end of our lives, we want to be able to look back. And whether you're an athlete, you're a coach, teacher, parent, I think you want to look back and think, man, I did the very best with what I was given. I did the very best with the time that I had. And I wouldn't change a thing. So anyways, man, just appreciate the moment, live in the moment, and just enjoy it, because it goes by quick. And like high school athletes, man, you guys only have 4 years of this, and it's hopefully you guys go on to play bigger and better things. But if you don't, that's kind of the last really exciting moment for your athletic careers when you play in high school. So that's, like I said, that's when the competition intensity goes up. That's when the camaraderie, the bonding with your teammates really has a deeper meaning there. And it's a special thing. So, don't take it for granted. Appreciate the moment and live for the moment. You're probably sick of me saying that. I'm sick of saying it too, but that's what we're talking about today. So appreciate every moment. So, excuse me. As always, thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow us at Home Team Sac on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. There's a Facebook group as well for coaches. Make sure you join that and spread the word on that. YouTube, that's pretty much it. TikTok, we're on TikTok as well. Make sure you follow us on all those different platforms. And if you would be so kind, subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app and YouTube, and make sure you give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We would definitely appreciate it. So until next time, we will talk to you guys later. See ya.